This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I just realized something that opener to this podcast, the last word is success. And we're going to talk about your success today. And that comes in many different shapes and forms. But I have to imagine, wouldn't you like to have a life that was filled with purpose? It is your purpose. What you're doing in your life is what you intended for life to be. You've got balance in your life. Everything is just the way it should be. And you're hitting goals, whatever they may be, personal, professional. It may be rhetorical, but wouldn't you love to have that type of life where everything just kind of feels right and it all just goes the way you intend it to? We're going to talk about that today, and that is all part of something called the Intentional Success System. We're going to talk with the founder of that system, who's got decades of experience in training, coaching, organizational success, helping people move their lives along. He is Joe Price, and he's on the program today. Hey, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you here. Lots to learn. And I have to tell you, looking at your system, and we're going to learn more about it as these podcasts go along, this sounds like exactly what most of us are looking for, but we didn't know we were looking for it. Do people tell you that, when they start doing the system?
They do. As a matter of fact, we just opened up a new community in Lucerne, Switzerland, and they had been looking for something like this for a long time, and they just hadn't found it. And when they were introduced to our system, she came back to me and she said, "This is exactly what we've been looking for 6 months, but haven't been able to find it."
I've done lots of podcasts. I've done lots of studying. I'm on a journey like all of us are. Everything here that you offer, and again, we'll get into the different values, the different principles within this system to help you succeed. And when we say succeed, a lot of times that word is connected to business, make money, succeed. It's not about that, right? It's about succeeding in success in your life in every area.
Correct. However you define it.
Mm. What inspired you to come up with this system? Did you feel that what's out there, we were missing this, we were lacking it?
I appreciate the question. At the time, I was a salesperson and customized corporate solutions director for Dale Carnegie Training of Southeastern Pennsylvania. You've probably heard the name Dale Carnegie
Sure.
Training. He wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I had been in Dale Carnegie for 10 plus years and doing average and helping clients achieve what they wanted to achieve. And yet, what I found was that there were things that were still missing, even in the great Dale Carnegie material. So my clients would come and say, "Can you do this for me?" Or "Can you help me get this outcome?" And I would say, "Look, yes, I can. And let me share with you how I can do that." And it was a combination between what Dale Carnegie provided and some of the other things that I was starting to research and study that were sort of holes that were missing in our material. And as I started to do that and fill in some of those holes, started to take a look at what was being developed and realize it was the beginnings of the intentional success system.
Before we get into that system and a lot of the words that we're sharing here and what they mean, when you talk with people, Joe, what seems to be the common denominator? What are we going through? Are we stuck? Are we not lacking control within our lives? What seems to be the baseline here?
Yeah. It differs for everyone,
Sure.
but you have a couple of main issues that people are dealing with. The first one is they're drifting along in their life, letting life just take them wherever it's going to take them, right? we have a tendency, we're actually hardwired as human beings to react to what happens to us, right? It's that old fight or flight mechanism that we developed over time for our own safety and for our own lives. But today we don't need that same mechanism, but it's still hardwired within us. So we have a tendency just to react to what's happening and not be in control. And I don't mean a power type control. I mean a control of knowing what we want, where we're going, and exactly how to get there. Okay. So some people are just sort of drifting along, letting the winds take them wherever the winds are going to take them. Some people are stuck. They're not sure exactly what they want, where they want to go, how to get there. And so they just allow themselves continue doing what they're doing because they don't know what else to do, right?
Hmm.
Other people are influenced by other people in their lives telling them what they think they should be doing or not doing because they don't have their own thought process of where they're going, what they want, and what the outcomes are they're looking for.
Part of me is conflicted here because I often hear live in the moment as opposed to worrying about things and yes, you need to have a
Right.
plan. Um, so that to me, that's a little bit of drifting. I don't think of that as totally a bad thing. Kind of like trust the process where life is going to take you. So it's
Sure.
back to the word balance we used in the very, very, very beginning today. Seems like you got to strike that balance.
There absolutely is. And I tell people the more intentional you are about the important things of your life, where you want your primary relationship to be, where do you want your career to be, where do you want your finances to be, where do you want your physical and mental health to be. These key areas, if you can be intentional and create a plan for what you want and how you're going to get there, that structure that you create for your life allows you to be spontaneous in
Uh,
all the other areas of your life, right?
hmm.
Because, for example, if you and I are taking a road trip, for example, and we know that we have to be at a certain place at a certain time, we're going to plan that trip to be there at that time. But in the meantime, we're going to take side trips. We're going to look for new places to eat. We're going to look for places that we've never been to before. We're going to be spontaneous on that road, but we know and we're able to do that with a lot of calm and a lot of peace because we know we have the plan laid out for where we need to be at a particular time.
Thank you for that.
Does that make sense?
Now I have a very clear picture of it. Even, in the broadcast world, we call it sometimes planned spontaneity. So, let's say I've done morning radio for years, decades. Let's say we're going to talk about pizza. Who has the best pizza? Who doesn't? We already know what we're going to talk about. That's let's say the trip that you're referring to, whatever it is. I don't know what we're
Sure.
going to talk about when it comes to pizza, but we know we're going to talk about pizza. And there is where we release, to the universe and live in the moment. Well, the best pizza,
Absolutely right.
it's all about the cheese, whatever it might be,
Yeah,
but we already knew where we were going
sure.
to go. The word intentional has come up a number of times here today. This is the intentional success system. It's a buzzword nowadays, being intentional or having, putting intent into something. Can we look at that word? Can you define it? What does it mean? And how does it connect to the system?
Sure, let's do that. And let me, if you're willing to play with me a little bit,
Sure.
let me work with you the same way that I work with some of our clients. And I ask them, you've heard the term intentional. What do you think it means? Can you define it for me? And what
Intentional,
would your answer be?
it would be for me putting an intent into something. If I'm going to do something, there's an intent to have an outcome. Let's
Okay.
say, that lately I've been hearing it's impactful if you're going to meditate. I'm just going to any first thing that came to my mind.
Sure. Sure.
Set an intention. So what am I going to meditate on today? Well, can't decide where to go on vacation. I'm going to have an intention, think about that, meditate on it. Do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? But I'm
Right.
setting the stage for it, i.e., yeah, the reason, I guess.
Okay.
That's the best explanation I can come up with.
Yeah, good for you. And you used a couple of words that are crucial, right? But let me back up for a second and ask you, um, do you know why I asked you to define it?
No.
Okay. And this is really crucial for all of us. We don't realize that our definitions dictate our actions.
Mm.
Our what we think something means is is going to determine the actions that we take. So for example, and again, this is how I work with my clients. If I said to you, would you rather have more stress in your life or less stress in your life?
No
What
brainer,
would your
less
answer
stress.
be?
Less
Less
stress.
stress, right?
Right.
Now, the reason that you want less stress is because of your definition of stress. So if I asked you what one word definitions could you use for the term stress, what one words come to mind?
Ooh, give me a moment. Um,
Okay,
and I'm thinking of one word answers to define stress:
sure.
turmoil, uncomfortable.
Ah, good for you.
Um, and I've dealt with stress and I've minimized it, dealt with stress over the years that led to an
Sure.
ulcer times two. So so I really want to be intentional about picking the right words.
Well,
Um,
and it's interesting because stress led me years ago into the hospital every year for 5 years, right?
Same here.
So, but here's what's interesting about it. It is your definition, turmoil, right? All the words that you can think of for stress are all have negative connotations to them, correct?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Now, let's say that you and I go to the gym and we're doing bicep curls. What are we doing to the muscle?
My understanding is we are, in a way, a little, damaging it a little bit, stretching it out a little bit, and the recovery is where the growth comes.
Ah, good for you. What we're actually doing is we're stressing the muscle, right? We're putting stress on the muscle. If you look the word stress up in the dictionary, it means a compelling force. Stress is neither positive nor negative. It's our thought process and definition that makes it whatever it is. Because when we do the curls in the gym,
Hmm.
what do they produce if we're doing the stress properly? Growth and strength, right?
Hmm.
Now, if I said to you, every time you experience stress in your life, if you experienced it properly, it will produce growth and strength in your life. Would you want more or less?
Obviously, more.
Obviously, more. I didn't change anything about stress other than its definition for you. And as a result of that, it changed how you see stress.
I never saw
Right.
it that way because I've always stress has been my enemy for literally a lot of the same reasons that you defined. Yeah, 2016. Actually, on this day in 2016, I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And many of us don't say I got to go to the hospital. The stress from a number of different factors was so high, normal blood pressure over here. I felt like my eyes were popping out of my head. I
I
had
get it.
like stomach issues. I don't even know what it was, which
Yeah.
made it even worse.
Right.
Um, but funny, when I think of the word anxiety, I don't necessarily think of that as a negative thing. And I guess I should connect it the same way with stress. You got to believe, hey, how many pro sports players, the moments before the big game, they walk out onto the field, they got some stress, they got some anxiety, millions, bazillions of dollars riding on this.
The
They got to
truth.
perform and do a great job. So that
Right.
probably is fueling them. Because if they just walked out, all right, just had had a soda. Oh, you'll phone this one in and go go
Absolutely right.
collect the Super Bowl ring. They probably
Right.
wouldn't do well, right?
Yeah. So how can I use that stress? How can I use that fill in the blank of whatever definition word you want to use, right?
Hmm.
So so now let's get back to that conversation about intentional. If you don't know what intent is, or an intention, or an intentional action, how do you know what to do and what to do with it, right? And that's why I believe that we should define everything. In relationships, for example, most of the time when you have a conflict in a relationship, you're not arguing about an issue, the same issue. You're arguing about the definition of the issue that you're actually arguing about, right? And so in conflict resolution, whether it's in business or in marriage, one of the first things that I do is help people define the issues that they're working with, because it's that redefinition that changes so many different things, right? So you use some words: intent, intention, and intentional, right? An intent and an intention is a mental process of what you would like to have happen, right? I intend to go to the gym. It doesn't mean you're going. It doesn't mean that you know what you're going to do when you get there. You're just having this mental game that you play with yourself, right? How many times do we as human beings intend to do something? We don't do it. But when somebody asks us, we say, well, I'm working on it. Well, what's that mean that you're working on it? Well, I'm intending to go. I've thought about it,
Mm.
right? I've got this intention, so I am working on it. Well, you're not doing anything different. You're not making any change. You're not being intentional. So we can have intentions and not be intentional, but we can't be intentional without intentions. Okay.
One drives the other.
Yeah, exactly. So I say, okay, I have an idea of what I want to do and where I want to go. I ask people all the time, where do you want to be 3 years from now? Well, I have this intention of starting my own business. Great. What are you doing today to set those intentions into actions in order for that business to come to fruition? Right? How are you being intentional about your actions and your plans in order to make that intention come to pass?
All of this is part of the system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Hmm.
Right?
I I, I don't know if we're going to get to all of these, but there's different values that come along with this system. Call them words, just labels, so it's easier to understand. Can we
Sure.
look at a few of those? And again, I believe there's nine. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Probably not going to get to all of them, but today. But can we pick, let's say two?
Sure. So the system itself is what we call nine keys, or nine key principles that are subdivided into three subsections. And the subsections are know it, plan it, and be it. So we have to know certain things in order for us to be intentional and bring about certain outcomes in our life. But knowing doesn't bring it to pass, right? So once we know what we need to know, we have to plan a process in order for us to get there, because predictable process produces predictable results, right? If we have a process that we follow, we know that when we follow it, if we put a roadmap together to get from Phoenix, Arizona to New York, and we Google that and put it into our phone, we follow that map. We know if we follow it to the T, that predictable process will produce a predictable outcome. We'll get to where we want to go, right? So we know certain things, we plan that knowledge, and then we be and do what we've seen and planned. Okay. Now let's take that first know it. What do we need to know? We need to know why we're doing what we're doing. That's the first thing. If we don't have a why, a specific reason for doing what we're doing, it's going to be a reaction to something that's happening to us. Okay. And I'm throwing a lot of words out that I think you and I need to define for the audience so that they really understand what these words mean.
But fundamentally, what you just said, go and I haven't heard it in a while, but it's so important. What's your why?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you
You
doing it?
hear you hear from so many people, there is a driving force for everything that we do. Most of us leave it in the unconscious. And because it's in the unconscious, we have a tendency to drift wherever the winds are going to take us because that why is not top of mind. Okay. So part of being intentional is taking the unconscious and bringing it to the conscious so that we can actually work on it.
Hmm.
So if somebody doesn't have a why, we're going to work with them as coaches and as trainers and as educators to help them really define that why because it drives everything that we do,
Joe, would
right?
you say that the why could be or is there? It exists, but it's in the subconscious and we haven't really pulled it out yet.
That's correct.
Wow. Hmm. Um, I want to get to how to find out more about the system, but I just had a thought. Now, you
Sure.
said know it, plan it, be it.
Correct.
Would it be the know it is the intent, the plan it is the intention, and the be it is the intentionality or the intentional aspect of all of this?
You can see it that way because the know it, which is purpose and values and vision, are very much a mental process,
Hmm.
right? There's no necessarily physical action involved in those things. Developing your why is a mental process that we go through. So yeah, it is designing that intent and that intention of why do I really want to do this? What's the driving force, right? Somebody says to themselves, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. That's my goal, right? Well, a lot of people come to me and say, I have these goals that I've set in my life, but I've never been able to fulfill them. Why is that? Well, one of the main reasons is that goal is not connected to a larger why. Why do you want to lose that 30 pounds? Well, I'm going to my son's wedding and I want to fit into this amazing tux that I have. And in order for me to fit into that tux, I got to lose 30 pounds, right? So when I'm working with someone, we're not really focusing on the 30 pounds. We're focusing on what it's going to feel like and look like when I attend my son's wedding. And that driving force is going to help me to overcome any obstacle that I find along the way that would keep me from losing the 30 pounds in order to get there.
Well, my understanding, that is also a key principle of manifestation because it's not just, I want $1 million. It's more of, well, what's that going to feel like? How is that going to change your life? The emotions, the feelings, life is going to be easier. I'm going to go on vacation. I can just see myself on the French Riviera and then sitting in a lounge chair, drinking a, tropical drink, whatever it might be. That's
Right.
ultimately what's going to fuel you. Love this system. It is so easy to understand. And Joe, you make it easy to understand. And all of these
Appreciate that.
principles. So this is encompasses everything. You're like three different life coaches in one in
Right.
one system. How does somebody intentionally find out more about this system?
Intentionalachievements.com has the system and everything that we do. We help our business is built on four pillars, right? We help people improve their personal life, whatever they want to do in their personal life. We have coaching and programs that will help them do that. What's interesting about our personal lives is that our life consists of 9 specific areas, the way that we have it subdivided, right? We have a primary relationship, we have our family, we have our career, we have our finances, we have our physical health, we have our emotional health, we have our community work that we do, we have a social life. We have so many things, so many aspects of our life that we want to create, and you use this word and we use this word in the beginning, we want to create balance, right? A lot of people say, I need to balance my life. Well, here's the challenge again, coming back to definitions. What does balance mean? If I'm sleeping 6 to 8 hours a day and I'm working 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day, that's 2 areas of my life taking up 70% of my time. How do I balance the other 7 areas of my life with only 30% of the time that I have left? So people stress themselves out, negatively stress wise, because they're trying to do something that's impossible to do. They're trying to create balance. What we teach and what we believe is our job is to create harmony, where every aspect of our life harmonizes well with the other. I may only be spending an hour of quality time, but that hour of quality time harmonizes with every other aspect of my life and makes sense.
And in my understanding, should align with your purpose, whatever your purpose is.
You got it.
So much more to talk about. I am not going to say this just because we're here. I'm going to say this because I'm transparent and say what I mean. Love what you offer, Joe, and your website's fantastic. I'm looking at the blog and I'm like, I can't wait to read that one later. I can't wait to read that one later. Yeah, even the blueprint, the life of Ben Franklin, like as a blog, I'm like, yeah, we learn from others. So I'd love to see that story and how this all aligns. Website is intentionalachievements.com. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Joe, great having you on here. Thanks for sharing this with us. And
appreciate that.
I'm thinking maybe in the future, we should talk about finding your purpose in life. That sound reasonable maybe at some point?
It'd be super to do, because in that purpose area, we talk about 2 types of purpose. One is a purpose empowered life, and the other is a purpose decisive life.
I don't even know what they mean, but I can't wait to, I'm looking forward to finding it out.
That purpose empowered life is, why am I here, right? What is my ultimate reason for being here, my purpose in life? And that's a larger area that we help people work toward. It is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that, that ultimate place of self-fulfillment, right? Of knowing why I'm here and helping other people find that place for themselves. The purpose decisive life is a more day-to-day purpose of, what decisions do I have to make today, and what reason do I have to make them? What's my purpose for making the hundreds of thousands of decisions that you and I make every day in every aspect of our life, right? If we're making it by reaction, if we're making it by default, or we're making it because we have a purpose in mind.
Appreciate you being here. There's so much more to talk about next time we get together, Joe. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it, yeah.
Thank you very much.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.